Hi, folks, and welcome to another Saturday morning Samoflange solo edition. Hi, you know what? I got a great request by someone who said, Matt, I love it when you tell stories of your past on here. And can you do an episode where you just tell a few stories from your past? Well, I have done that before. I've done that several times. Wes and I have been on Prince of the Universe, and so have Bruce and I, talking about our old days together and things we remembered. About me and Bruce going to Comic-Con, about Wes and I working at the card and comic store back in the day. I've even told a few stories here or there on both of these podcasts. And so it gets kind of funny because I don't really know what story. A lot of stories actually on Saturday morning Samoflange, we talk about top 5 X memories, whatever, high school memories, college memories. I can't remember what else we did. Grade school memories. I don't know if we did that one. But yeah, I have a lot of great stories. They're funny. They're not braggadocious about me because there's not much to brag about. More to make fun of me than to brag about. But the idea that I had was there are moments in your life where you're at a crossroad. What are you going to do? And what you decide may have changed your life. Now, I'm not going to go too deep on these. There are some personal ones here I'm probably going to avoid for right now, just because. But I figured a lot of mine are around certain career decisions I made. And those are big ones for everyone, right? If you had accepted this job, where would you have been now? If you had gone down this, if you would have majored in this, where would you be now? But mainly when I think about it, yeah, it's when you come to that crossroads of the job, that's one of the pivotal moments, because how different would my life had been? So I'm ranking all these as best I know how to ones that I know would have changed my career, to some that I think may have changed my career, and then the lowest one probably would not have changed it too much. So I don't even know if this makes sense. So top 5 career decisions. I don't know, working title. I don't title these till after I record them. I try to think of a better title. But top 5 career what ifs. Oh, there you go. Boom. Probably already on the title now. All right, so here we go. The first one is I had an offer to work at a rival bank one time. I used to work at AmSouth Bank. Hated it. And my favorite branch manager had a little bit, maybe a lot of bit of a crush on her too. I saw her at Walmart. I remember Super Walmart, and she was shopping when I was like, "What are you doing?" I recall her name. Should I mention it? I don't know. It was a wild name, but yeah, I don't care. Tony Bacon. Bacon. Anyway, that was her name, Bacon. And she saw me. It's like, Matt, and I say, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And we were talking. She went, "Well, I am going to another bank called Community Trust Bank. They're not around either anymore." And she goes, "And I just got a job for branch manager." And she went, "You know what?" She went, "Have you ever thought about being an assistant branch manager?" I said, "Yeah, but AmSouth's not going to give me that position. Get out of here. They're going to hire someone from the outside. You know that." She went, "What if I could give you that job? Would you, because they're looking for an assistant branch manager." It was a new bank, the brand new one they just were about to open up, and she was going to run it. And she said, "What would you be the assistant?" And I was like, I would, yes. If I would work with you in a, because I'd never work. I worked at her branch for like a little bit here and there, but only temporary when they needed a teller, a roaming teller, or roaming customer service specialist who opened up checking and savings accounts. That's what I was doing. And I was like, yes, I would definitely work with you. And she goes, "Okay, well, I'll talk to the main guy." So she did, and he went ahead and hired me. They just told me, they said, "Hey, look, Tony gives you high recommendations." I don't think I did an interview. No, I didn't do an interview. He just called me. He just said, "Look, if you want to do this, we will give you a chance. She says you can do this, and we trust her, so we'll give you the shot." And his name was Danny Van, if I recall. And I'm really on with the names today. Usually I forget everything, but now that I'm talking about the story. So I was ready to jump ship, and I turned in my 2 weeks. Now, usually when people turn in their 2 weeks, they're in screw it mode, like, screw it. I don't want to work for this company. They never gave me anything. Why should I give them an effort? In fact, I'm going to just coast these last 2 weeks, and maybe they'll just fire me. I don't care. I'm going to show up late. What are they going to do? Fire me? Well, with me, it was a little different because I'm odd. I said, you know what? I'm going to turn my 2 weeks here, but I'm going to work as hard as I ever have, and I'm going to make them regret that they lost me. And there was a goal, and it was opening up X amount of accounts and getting referrals to for like loans and investments and stuff. And my goal was not only to win that competition, but to beat everyone's numbers combined in the bank. I didn't beat everyone's numbers. I tied everyone. Everyone combined tied for my numbers. But the thing is, though, when it comes to referrals, my referrals were way bigger. I referred $100,000 to investments. I remember because the investments guy, name almost on the tip of my tongue, came into the bank. He goes, "Who is Matt Wilkins?" I said, "That's me." He went, "I am taking you out to eat wherever you want to go." I said, "Oh, did you talk to Mr. So-and-so?" He said, "Yes. He invested $100,000. I said, yeah, he asked me about that. I said, "Well, you need to talk to this guy." And he said, "I wish I had 1,000 of you." He said, no one gives me referrals. He said, "I've gotten several from you the past few weeks." And I was like, "Oh, okay, right on." So we went out to eat, and he was just telling me about this and that and this and that. And, from here on out, every time he gets a referral from me, pick the place and he'll pay for the meal. I said, "Well, dude, this is the last meal you're going to give me because I'm leaving." He went, "What?" I said, "Yeah, I turned in my 2 weeks a while back." I said, "This is my last week." He was like, "Oh, no." He was just so upset. He's like, "You're the only one giving me referrals." I went, "Well, dude," I said, "I'm sure you just talk to the other ones. They'll do it." And same thing with mortgage. The mortgage guy was just so happy. He called me and said, "Matt, I just want to say, man, you're on fire. I mean, I've gotten one or two from some of the tellers and some of the CSS agents." He said, "But you were just schlock them in left and right." I went, "Oh, that's because I'm leaving in 2 weeks. And I just want to make the bank feel sorry that they wouldn't promote me." Because I got passed up for a promotion to loan officer. And he went, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I'm making them regret it. And on the very last day, Jerry Maguire was big back then, and we had a fish tank in our bank. And I did the scene from Jerry Maguire where I said, "This fish is going with me." And he even said, "Who's coming with me?" And one of the tellers, as a joke, said, "I am coming with you." I said, "Good." And then everyone started saying, "I will come with you. I will come." I was like, wait. There's only one Renee Zellweger. Come on, guys, get this straight. And we're making jokes. I didn't realize that the regional manager was in our branch, and he was watching me do this over to the far corner office. And I didn't know that. He said, "Matt?" And I was like, "Oh!" And his name was Scott McDonald. I'm acing these names today. He goes, "Can I see you in the office for a bit?" And I was like, "Oh!" I said, "Scott, I didn't know you were here. Hi." And so I sat down. I was like, "Hey, look, about just now," I said, we had already shut down for the day. We'd already closed for the day. I wasn't doing that in front of customers. I said, "I was just joking around doing a scene from Jerry Maguire." He goes, "Oh, I know." He said, "I thought it was funny." I said, "Oh, okay." And I was like, "So what do you want?" He said, "Well, I'm going to ask you, what do you want?" I was like, "What do you mean?" He said, "You've turned it, you've done," because the investment guy and the mortgage banker both called. The regional manager said, "You cannot let this guy go." And I said, "Well, look, I'm pissed because you guys passed me up for the loan officer position because you said I had no experience." "Well, how am I going to get experience unless you give me the shot?" And I said, "So I'm going somewhere else, and they're going to make me assistant manager at this place." He said, "Well, that's a smaller bank." I said, "I don't care. It's a position." He went, "What position did you want here?" I said, "Loan officer. I just want loan officer here." He went, "Fine, we'll give you loan officer." I went, "Where are you going to give me loan officer? Where do you want to work?" I said, "Here." He went, "Sure." I said, "Dude, you already hired someone." He said, "Yeah, well, we'll have another one here." And I was like, "Oh." And he said, "What?" He said, "What do you want as a raise?" I went, 20%, which is outrageous. And he did. I should have said 30. I said 20%. That was the first thing that popped in my head. And he gave me everything I wanted. I was like, "Oh, well, okay." And I stayed. And I told Tony, I said, "Hey, I got to stay here. They gave me everything I wanted." She went, "Oh, okay." But I mean, so I didn't get to go. Now she rose up to great heights. I don't know, but she became one of the big wigs at that bank before they got bought out. So I don't know where she is today. But would my career have been different? I don't know. I think I still would have left the bank. I don't think the bank was ultimately not for me. So I think I still would have left the bank, which is why it's number 5 here. All right, so number 4, another one is oh man, this is kind of hard. I didn't rank these earlier, so I'm gonna say this one. As I'd got promoted at DirecTV, I also got an offer from the deputy assessor's office to come work for them full time. I worked for them part time while I was in college. I wanted to be a deputy assessor for a while because I thought this is easy, I can do this. And then eventually said, no, I need to spread my wings and fly. Well, a position came open and they all remembered me because I used to come by the office a lot back then. They said, hey, maybe Matt wants to be it. And if they would have called me, oddly enough, they would have called me like just a few weeks earlier, I might have jumped ship. Because I still had friends over there. I still loved hanging out over there. And like I said, the only reason I left is because I said, well, they don't have full-time positions open here. They just had that part-time. And I was in a sales job, and I liked a sales job, but there's a lot of pressure. And if you hit a bad month, only one bad month makes you think, man, I want to do something else. And if they would have come at me on one of my bad months, I would have taken the job. I think a month earlier, or 2 months earlier. I know 2 months earlier I had a super bad month. I would have joined them in a heartbeat. Or even later, if they'd offered me that job later when the call center went under, I'd have jumped at them. But then I'm glad I didn't, because I would have been stuck. And I love everyone at the assessor's office, but I think it's a dead-end job. It's a dead-end job with no sense of promotion. Being an assessor is an elected position, and you really can't aspire to be much over there. So I don't think it would have I would have been stagnated. I wouldn't have seen my full potential that I have now at the job I have. I think people are getting to see my full potential here, but I would not be that way at the assessor's office. Would I still be there today? Maybe, but I'd probably be having to work 2 jobs because I know it wouldn't pay that much. It wouldn't pay that much, or I'd be a lot less, about lower living. So I'm really thankful things didn't work out for that one. So that's another one there. Actually, I probably would have still been there, but have been a lot poorer. The next one, this is the one right before I came to the place I'm working at now. I got an offer from the evil corporation Comcast. I turned them down because I could not, in good conscience, work for them. And this is a true story. When I left DirecTV, they immediately got on the phone. I don't know who knew who, but they immediately called me up and offered me like commercial sales, like head of commercial sales. I was like, no. Yeah, I said, thank you, but no. I said, I did interview for it. The guy loved me, and I said, no, thank you. They offered me a job. But then, I can't remember it was months later, back when I was kind of wallowing in just little part-time jobs of selling insurance, doing radio DJ stuff. And what was my other part-time job? Oh, it was working for an accountant, which is a lot of fun. A tax accountant. So those are my 3 temp jobs I was doing in between jobs. And I thought, you know what? This really sucks. I was newly married, and I was like, Megan deserves better than this. Instead of me having 3 little part-time jobs that are just barely paying the bill. I mean, they were paying the bills and everything, but I was like, it's time to find some steady work. Because I really hated the insurance people. I mean, they were really nice to me, and they knew that I wasn't making money, because you start off by making 0 money there and then slowly build your way up. So they were promising me the fast track, but it just really wasn't my cup of tea, and I did not want to be in sales anymore because they can be up and down, and insurance just didn't interest me. And then the other 2 jobs just didn't pay that much, working for the accountant and working for the radio station. It was fun. Both of those were great jobs. They just weren't paying the bills. It's like, nope, I got to do something bigger and better with my life. And so I went back to Comcast, hat in hand, because they still had the position open. It turns out they didn't hire anyone because no one else was qualified. That dude drove all the way 2 hours from Jackson, Mississippi, just to look me in the eye. He said, I don't have any questions for you. He said, do you remember who I am? I said, yeah, you're the guy that interviewed me last time. He said, yeah. He said, I'm the hiring manager. He said, you're the only person qualified, and you didn't take our position. And I said, yeah, sir, I'm sorry. I went with another place, and I regret it now. And I kind of lied to him. But I said, yeah, and I don't like where I'm working now, so yes, I will work for you. He was, you'll be our commercial sales guy. I said, absolutely. He went, okay, that's all I need to ask you. See you later. And he got in his car and drove all the way back. That was it. It was like a 2-minute conversation. And those entire 2 weeks, they were getting my office ready. They ordered my laptop. I had a secretary. And then the company that I work for now called. And that's the company I really wanted to work for. I do not want to work for Comcast. And I even told my wife, I said, we may lose our cable, just to let you know. Really bad. But yeah, I mean, if I'd have worked for Comcast, I'd have been miserable. I was going to make decent money. I was going to make good money, in fact. In fact, that was at a time where commercial sales were still a big thing, and maybe still are. I don't know. Maybe they still are a good deal working for Comcast. But I could not. I just have no respect for that company. Still, and like I said, I've cooled off on it, but still today I couldn't see myself working for them no matter what. The thought of it. The company I hate. You know, I feel like I'm lying to myself. I'm a fraud myself if I work for Comcast. All right, and probably the number one job that really got me, that would have changed, I think, my entire life. The most impactful one was, and I've mentioned this before, the bank that I eventually stayed with, they were getting bought out. I left them. I went on a siesta. Someone said in the comments below, Matt, siesta is like a Spanish nap. Yes, I know. I took a rest. A sabbatical, yes, that's probably a good name for it too, but we called it my siesta of fiesta. Good friend of mine, Big Bad John Garza, the man, the myth, the legend. I don't know if he listens to this. If he does, bud, call me. I miss that man. I love that man. But he used to call it my siesta of fiesta. So that's why I just shortened it to siesta there. But my siesta of fiesta ended, well, didn't end, but one of the endings was I was looking for a job. I decided that maybe I want to live in Mobile, Alabama. My grandparents were both alive back then. They both lived there. My grandfather was kind of on the early years of his life, twilight years of his life, but whenever I was down, he would do his little exercises and be a lot more active. And my grandmother's like, if you could live down here, you could live with us, and you could, basically, help him exercise. It was basically just going to the pool and walking back and forth a little bit and doing a few other things. But I say, come on, Papa, let's go walk in the pool. And we would, and we'd talk. And we had a lot of good times together. And I was thinking, yeah, maybe I can do some good here. And I can help him out around the house. And Dad was like, well, you also need to help pay for, electricity. And so I said, yeah, I'll pay half the bills. I was thinking, well, if I'm living there rent free, then paying half the bills would be nothing. Now I was thinking, yeah, that's a sweet deal, right? I don't even need to have that big of a job. I just have any job. So, and I didn't pick just any job. I wasn't going to work at the mall or, work at a McDonald's or something. But I wanted it to be, if I was going to work at the mall, it had to be like manager position, like my buddy Wes does. It had to be something like that. It couldn't be, just regular sales clerk. Even though I could have that, it could be a gas station attendant because I was just going to pay half the bills at my grandparents. And I doubt my grandmother would have or grandfather would have accepted that money either way. So I probably would have been living rent free and bill free. And I was thinking, oh my gosh. And this is how stupid I was back in the day. I was like, I can save up all that money and buy replica championship belts because I was big into wrestling back then. I wanted those replica championship belts. I wanted one of every type. And I was just lining up. I said, man, every paycheck I could buy another one. That's what we call short-sightedness in the business. I was thinking I could have a complete collection of WWF wrestling belts in a couple of months. Yeah, that's how I want to spend my hard-earned cash, at least back then. And I did interview for 2 jobs, and both that sounded really like hopeful candidates. I can't remember. I remember one was in Pensacola. I cannot remember what it was for, but I felt like I had really aced that one, but they never called me back. The other one, I always wanted to be an appraiser. And that's one on here too. Oh, okay, so this is number one and two, I guess. Because I've always wanted to be an appraiser. I only got to work for them part-time when I was in college. For some reason, none of them would ever hire me. I don't know why, but I do know why. Because one of my buddies had just got married, and he needed a job. So the appraisers, out of their kindness of their heart, would offer him a full-time job so he could support his new wife. And I just wasn't married. So I was just the runner still for that. Now, I was in college, too, so I wasn't newlywed either. But, man, if I could have gotten hitched my senior year in college, I could have gotten a job with one of these jokers. In fact, for a few years after I left, I would beg one of the appraisers in town, who's now a good friend of mine, I used to beg for him to hire me, but he didn't. He ended up hiring one of my friends who just got married, and when that guy left, he hired his brother-in-law because they needed a job. Appraisal business, I was just so familiar with. I could do it. I was excited about it. I want to do it. I know literally half, if not 3/4 of the appraisers in town. I would be as bold to say 80% of the appraisers I do know here. 80%, maybe more. Maybe more. Because I don't know how many appraisers are still left out there, but I knew a ton of them. I was friends with all of them, and I wanted a job. But they'd only go for the hard luck cases of the newlywed who the husband's trying to find good work to afford a house payment with his wife. And they would always get the bump above me. It pissed me off. The company I worked for, eventually, when in college, they split. The appraisers split up, and no one had enough. They used to share me 1 week on, 1 week off. I'd flip and go to their different buildings. And then they decided they just didn't need a part-time, runner, which is true. I mean, they wouldn't need me. I don't have any hard feelings to any of the appraisers that I work with. They could not give me a full-time job. One of them, I worked for him as a runner for a short while. I was like, hey, maybe I can be, helping you out. He's like, I'm going to be honest with you, Matt. He said, I'm not a big appraiser. I barely make enough for my family. I don't think I'd ever bring someone else in. If it would, it'd be my son. Now, that was true, and I appreciated the honesty on it, and I didn't argue with it. It's like, okay, that makes sense. But I wanted to be an appraiser, and if I would have gotten on with one of them, I still would have been one today. It would have totally changed my world. Totally, for better or worse, it would have changed my friggin' world to be an appraiser. But I did try to apply, and this is back when I had I was coming off all this experience from working with all these appraisers. I said, look, you can call any of these appraisers. Look, this is kind of before the internet was a big deal, but you could call or look them up in the phone book and stuff. I said, these are all certified appraisers. I said, they all come with recommendations. I mean, I came with my A game. This guy was in Mobile, and I really came to him, and I was like, you're looking for an appraiser. I'm the guy. I said, I've been helping out with appraisers for years now. I want to move here because my grandparents live here. I want to get certified. I will go through all the things. I'm dedicated. You can talk to. And I had a resume full of, some of them were my friends, some of the young bucks. But I had, I know 3 of them that were just older. Now, this guy doesn't know any of these appraisers because they're in a different friggin' state. So that's not impressive to him, but I was for sure because my aunt knew this appraiser. I think it was her neighbor or something. That's how I found out about the job. She went, well, I have a nephew who works with appraiser. He said, oh, he does. Well, send him my way. And I thought we hit it off great because I talked to him about it. I had all my, I just had a sheet of referrals for him to call. I said, you can call all these people and everything. That was back when long distance was a thing. But I said, you can call all the people I've worked for. They will vouch for me. And I don't think any of my referrals said, well, Matt's really not that good. I don't think any of them would have said that behind my back because I asked them, I said, can I get an honest feedback? Can you give me some positive feedback? They said, yeah, absolutely. I said, all right, I'm going to put you as a referral. And I walked out of there thinking, I need to pack my bags because the Pensacola interview I thought went great. And I thought the Mobile one went better. And Bruce was actually in Mobile at the time, too. I forgot to mention that. And so was 2 other buddies of mine. And basically, I was like, well, I just need to live in Mobile because everyone's here. I was like, this is the place I need to be. And I was ready to pack my bags and move. And after a few weeks, Pensacola didn't call. I called them. They said they went with someone else. And the appraiser just never, I left several messages with him. Heartbroken that he would never call me and tell me I didn't get the job. My aunt called me because I told her, say, can you go over to his house and just tell him to call me back? And she went, oh, Matt, yeah, I just talked to him. He said he went with someone else he was looking for someone with just more experience. I was like, get out of here. And I was like on the verge of moving, and that would have totally changed my life. I would have had tons of worthless WWF wrestling belts loiter around the room. Who knows what would have happened in my life? I'd have probably gotten way more closer to all my cousins on that side of the family who all stayed in Mobile, but our family. And I don't know what else would have been different. That's the ultimate what if. Out of all of these, like staying with the appraisers, yeah, that would have changed my life too if I could have gotten on with one of them, because I never would have left. I loved the appraisal world. I loved it. I was good. I felt like I could conquer it because I was doing property inspections back then, drawing out we had to draw out the maps back then. But I was doing all the paperwork on it. I just wasn't going out there and doing the physical appraisal. That was the only thing that was missing. And even on those cases, I was doing a property inspection report, which is basically, in a way, a kind of final check. So I was doing a lot of it, just not the physical appraisal. And I wanted to do that part, and no one gave me the leg up. Over time, I'm sure someone eventually would have, but I stopped asking. By mid-2000s, I was like, you know what? I'm done. I've been asking for years now. I'm just done. I'm done. Because I was like, they're just not going to take me. They're always going to go. I wasn't married back then. I got married in the late 2000s, and I wasn't going to ask anyone. Someone maybe would have given me the job, but by then I wasn't interested. I was moving on with my career. But yeah, me moving to Mobile, Alabama, gosh, that'd have changed things up. I mean, who knows? Would I might have eventually moved out, right? Because I like to have people. I mean, my grandmother would have been happy to have me around, even after my grandfather passed away, and maybe could have helped her a little bit more, and maybe even inherited the house and taken over from there. That'd have been kind of weird. But I like to think that I would have been married to just a few years later. I don't know to who. I'm just saying. Maybe I would have been married a few years later, and then I would have had to move out. But I probably would have stayed in the area if my job would have been there, and it had been a totally different ball game at that. So yeah, who knows? But there's the what ifs, career what ifs from me. Things that might would have gone. So I don't really have anything else I can think of. That was that significant. Like what if jobs? I mean, I've been offered a ton of jobs at my current company. In fact, it happened a lot. It's happened every year except for last year. And this year it hasn't happened. But it seems like every year. In 2020, during the pandemic, I had someone go hard after me. A small little bank tried to hand me the keys of the kingdom to take over their training program. I was like, no offense, but there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to grow with you guys. And I'm glad I didn't do it, and no one's really made the eye-popping offer. But I mean, anyway, though, it's kind of funny that it would happen, and maybe not every year, but every other year, I guess. Last year didn't happen. This year it hasn't happened. So maybe I'm losing my shine. But every once in a while you'll have someone make a hard play and say, hey, see if Matt wants to come. That's just because I know a lot of people in HR too. So when the word gets out, if I'm ever unhappy, and I'm not, but if I was, then, the doors will open up. I remember my buddy told me, he asked for my resume. A lot of people used to ask for my resume because they wanted to copy it, like build their resume to look like mine. I was like, sure, man. So I gave him a copy. Little did I know he was actually using that because he had become an HR recruiter and was trying to get names in the bucket. He was trying to recruit like he should have done with his job. And then he got my name, threw it in the bucket, and I started getting calls from this big company. And I was like, what do they want? They were pursuing for me for years. And that's probably, they're known as Lumen now. They're like the third biggest internet provider in the nation. Their headquarters is here in our area, at least for now. And 3 times they've made a move, full court press move to get me. I mean, final stages of an interview, you're in. Oh, 4 times. 4 times. I just remembered. Yeah. And then it always blew up because they were always in a flux, of positions. They say, oh, we kind of closed that position because we think we have it. We think we already have someone covering that. So they've always been just a mess when it comes to opening up positions and closing them out again. But my goodness, what a roller coaster. I will never go to an interview with them again. In fact, the last time I didn't go to an interview because I knew they're just full of it. They just don't know how to, open up a rec and fill it, I guess. I don't know. But either way, those are my top 5 career choices. Let me know in the comments below any of your big career choices or just what you thought of the podcast in general. Hopefully this wasn't that boring. Either way, though, I'll see you next time on Saturday Morning Samoflange.